The next step is to get two rectangles. Now, two rectangles is going to be one of those recurve parts of the bow. If you're making the bow to scale, these things should be about from your top of your hand to your elbow, almost there. That's so that it will fit nicely and curve nicely onto the bow itself, if you're making it to scale to your own hand. Now, then once you do that, you can get a piece of galvanized steel wire, put it in there and then glue it together so that when it dries, you can just bend the thing and then do that. Now, after you've done that, you can now cut off this part at the top of the bow so that it looks like an actual bow. And then you can cut in the middle here and put a string there, and then that will be your bow completed. Once you got both things done using 4 rectangle things of EVA foam, you can go ahead and put them onto your bow by just putting on the ground and going this-ish thing. And then just stare at it because it's beautiful. Now, to make this fixture in the bow, you basically got to get pieces of EVA foam and you cut out these little tiny pieces. Now, you just stack them on top of each other, drill holes in the thing to give it a really cool look, like on the actual thing. And then you poke a hole straight through the axis right there in the middle, and then stick it onto the thing. And these things are gonna give you a propulsion for the bow, but right now it's just for aesthetic, for what the bow looks like in the series. So now we're gonna make the hinges for the recurve bow parts, because I can't think of another name for it. So it's a really complex process, and you have to understand everything of it, okay? So you basically get a Sharpie and get all the knowledge in your head, look it up, do some research, write a 10-page essay and hand it to your teacher. Then you just get the thing and just put a dot right there. Did you get that? Okay, that might be a bit too hard for some of you, so I'm gonna do it again and try to do it a bit slower. So get the Sharpie and just dot it like that. You gotta make sure to actually make it center so that it can actually turn. But there's that, and I hope that wasn't too challenging for you. If it was, you need help. Now for the hinges on the recurve bow parts, we're gonna use 1 sheet of EVA foam and just draw a match to this one. So this is gonna be like this when I cut out this middle piece. So we're gonna have to draw a piece that will fit inside that slot. Just think male and female parts, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm an idiot, so I made a mistake. So before you fill in the gaps with putty, make sure you cut out this middle piece for the hinge first before you do that. Otherwise, it's going to be an ass to cut the putty open so that you can cut the middle piece out. Now, to make the mechanism, you just need to get that shape that we built earlier, put a pivot through it, and then shove it through a hole that we made inside the bow. Then there's going to be another one on the other side, but until we put that on, we're just going to leave it like this. Now we need to have the part curving upward, facing away from the bow, from the main structure, and yeah. So how this is going to work is you have to get the part that curves upward to face away from the bow, and get your rubber band, snip it in half, and then make sure these rubber bands are kind of new, by the way, otherwise they might snap after a while. And you have to glue one end to this part and the other end to this part of the bow. I will show a way to hold it, but right now my other hand is gonna stretch it out all the way so that it will fit around this thing. Then you're just gonna get the where it touches this part, and just glue it there with hot glue, and I'm still waiting for that to heat up. So yeah, so while you're waiting for you can now go ahead and just fill in the putty and all that. I know I've already told you this, but I'm kind of recording all of these out of sequence because convenience. And once you're waiting for those to dry, so that you can actually coat this the structure with 5 layers of white glue and water, I will make a video maybe for why you need to do that. And you need to do that first. So while you're waiting to do that, you can just get the parts, the individual parts, like the bow things, I don't know what these are called, and just coat them with 5 layers of glue first. Then once that's done, you can paint this thing. Then you gotta make the arrow rest. Then you're done. Give it a quick undercoat of black, flat black. Now the one in the arrow series is actually camo, because I did some research, and it turns out to be camo. So if you want, I just like it matte black, cause it's not like anyone's gonna notice. Like, they're gonna see it and they'll be like, oh, isn't that the bow from Arrow? Oh yes, because the color really doesn't make a difference if it's camo, because it looks the same as black anyway. So if you want to make a camo, just get green spray paint and just give it a few highlights here and there. Just give it a quick spray there, you know, around it. Just make it look random and it'll look good camo. But otherwise, wait for it to dry. Then we're gonna do the same for these ones. I made this arrow rest out of pieces of foam that I just stuck together, and then you're gonna have to put that right here facing upwards so that the arrow can rest on this little piece. To attach the rubber band, all you're gonna do is get a little length of it and just hot glue it so that it's down. Then you fold it over and hot glue that part down. This is so that it won't pull apart, because if you hot glue it just like this, it might slide out of the glue. The same on the other side. And of course, do it to the other part of the bow. Put a pivot through the bow thing, and then use the same technique as you used to glue that in, to glue the ends of the rubber bands in here. Then after you've done that, I'm putting my finger where these things will come into play, and whenever you turn it back, it will snap back, just like in the series. Now before you can put any of the mechanism together, you first got to paint the entire thing. Yes, the entire thing, except for the rubber bands, because if you paint them before you stretch them, the paint's just going to peel off, as I just found out. Or I probably just realized. Now I've already put one part together, and basically once you glue the hinges in with the curved part facing outward, remember that, you have to grab the rubber band that you glued in earlier and then stretch it around this part, and then you've got to hold it at this angle so that it won't you know, go spin in other directions. Now it may seem as easy as just stretching it out, but you actually gotta regulate the tension between these two strings, and because I'll explain to you, if this one's too tight, then this thing will swirl upward and will not come back down. If this one's too tight, it'll go this way. So you need a perfect balance so that it can stay in this way, and then when you pull it back, it will turn, and it will turn this way, and then come back because of this tension. I hope that made sense to some of you, but I'm trying to explain it to the best of my ability here, which is not very good. And of course, once you've done that, you can do that for the other side. Now with the mechanism out of the way and completed, it's time to work on the aesthetics. Now get the main structure and basically do what you want with them. But first, you gotta round off the handle and cut with a little thing so that makes it look like an extra piece is on the handle. And so basically, just make the handle look separate from the actual thing. And then you gotta go get your putty and just cover up all the holes and mistakes that you may have made, like this little scratch that I made. And yeah, so then once you've done that, you can get the edges, and what you do next here is really up to you. Like, for example, for the bottom half, I just made a 45-degree angle on mine, and it looks nice. As you can see, the top half I did the same 45-degree angle all the way up to here, and then I rounded it off so that it looks nice. So what you do to make it look real and cool is really up to you. I'm just saying what I have done, but it's better. You could leave it square, but I find it's better and looks better when you just flatten it off or round it off. Once you've done that, you can finally use these holes. Now get a drill, probably get a small one to begin with, and then just use a Dremel to shave it off so that it looks pretty rounded. Then once you've done that, you can get a Dremel and then just round off the edges. Now these actually have to be round. If you don't make them round, it just looks a bit off. Once the mechanisms are in place, you can then paint the rubber bands, paint over the spots where you glued it in, and you've basically got a good bow coming in. Now you can glue on the arrow rest, which hasn't been finished painting, and then paint the handle brown or a wooden color so that it makes your handle look realistic. Now the absolute final step is to finally make the bowstring. Now to make this is actually the simplest part of the entire thing. You gotta find the very most horizontal part of the bow recurve parts and cut a notch inside, like right here, because you're gonna have to tie the string around it. Now to use the material for your bowstring should be string. Make sure you have a string that is not elastic, so that it will actually pull these things back instead of stretching itself to launch the arrow. Now you can use an actual bowstring, which might cost a lot, or you can use string, or you can use if you're really cheap, you can find a sewing kit and just get black string or whatever colored string. You can get floral green to look like the green arrow, or just black if you really don't care about the color. So basically how you do this is you get the length of the bow, and then you cut a length of thread, and if you're using sewing thread, you just get the length and then double it over 4 times so that it's thick, like I've done here. Then once you have your length of thread, grab both ends and twirl it so that it becomes a solid thread string thing. The easiest way to do that is to use your feet to hold a clamp that has the thread in one end, then just twirl away with the other. Then once you've got that done, it should be one solid string. Then you can go ahead and tie that to one end of your thing, then open up the clamp and tie that to the other.
So that, guys, was how to make the Green Arrows bow and arrow prop. Please leave a like if you did, comment and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you guys next time.